100 Years of Solitude is a mesmerizing tale that follows the rise and fall of the Buendía family over several generations in the fictional town of Macondo. Blending magical realism with deep human emotions, the novel weaves stories of love, solitude, power, and fate, capturing the cyclical nature of history and the complexity of human experience. Through extraordinary events and vivid characters, the book explores how personal and collective memories shape identities, often blurring the lines between reality and myth. About the author, Gabriel García Márquez was a Colombian novelist, journalist, and Nobel Prize winner known for his masterful storytelling and for popularizing magical realism. Born in 1927, he drew inspiration from Latin American culture and history, crafting rich narratives that combine the fantastical with the everyday. His works, including 100 Years of Solitude, have had a profound impact on world literature, celebrated for their lyrical prose, intricate plots, and exploration of social and political themes. García Márquez passed away in 2014, leaving behind a legacy as one of the greatest writers of the 20th century. In a remote corner of Colombia, hidden away from the rest of the world, there was a small village called Macondo. It was a place born from dreams and solitude, created by a man named José Arcadio Buendía and his wife Azula Iguarán. They had left behind everything familiar to build a new life, a new world, where the extraordinary could happen and time seemed to weave itself into endless loops. José Arcadio Buendía was a curious man, always fascinated by the mysteries of the universe. He spent hours in his workshop, surrounded by strange instruments and books filled with strange symbols, trying to unlock the secrets of alchemy and science. His mind was restless, and his imagination took flight far beyond the quiet streets of Macondo. But even as he sought knowledge, he struggled to see the world clearly through the lens of his own fears and obsessions. Ursula was the heart of the family, a strong, practical woman who kept the household grounded and the family together through decades of joy and hardship. She was the one who held on to hope when everything else seemed to drift into confusion and despair. Together they raised children who would become the foundation of the Buendía dynasty, a family whose stories would echo across generations like the wind through the trees. There was their son, José Arcadio, wild and impulsive with a strength that seemed almost otherworldly. Then there was Aureliano, quiet and thoughtful, who would one day carry the weight of prophecy on his shoulders. As the years passed, Macondo grew from a tiny village into a bustling town. The world outside slowly crept in, bringing new people, ideas, and challenges. The Buendía family found themselves tangled in love and tragedy, ambition and madness, always caught between the desire to change their fate and the pull of an unbreakable cycle. Strange things began to happen in Macondo. Ghosts whispered in empty rooms. Rains lasted for years without stopping, and characters seemed to live and die with the inevitability of a dream. Time itself seemed to fold back on itself, repeating moments and mistakes as if the family was trapped in a story written before they were born. At the heart of it all was the question of solitude. Each member of the Buendía family struggled with loneliness in their own way, seeking connection but often finding only isolation. Love was fierce but fragile, and the ties that bound them also threatened to tear them apart. And so the tale of Macondo and the Buendías began, a tale of wonder and sorrow, of magic and reality spinning through the years like a golden thread in the tapestry of life. As the Buendía family grew, so did the mysteries and legends surrounding Macondo. Jose Arcadio, the eldest son, was full of fire and strength. He left home one day, drawn by the world beyond their village, and returned years later with a wild spirit and strange tales from his travels. His stories stirred the town's imagination, and his presence brought both excitement and tension to the family. Meanwhile, Aureliano, the quiet and reflective brother, seemed destined for a different path. He was a man of few words, but his mind was sharp and his heart heavy. He would later become a solitary figure, consumed by visions of war and revolution. Before long, the country itself would erupt in conflict, and Aureliano would find himself at the center of a struggle that mirrored the chaos within his family. The family's fortunes rose and fell with the passing years. Love affairs blossomed and withered. Some brought joy, others sorrow. One of the most unforgettable figures was Amaranta, a proud woman who carried the weight of unfulfilled love and bitter regrets. Her story was marked by sacrifice and self-denial, and her presence cast a long shadow over the family's history. There was also Remedios the Beauty, whose ethereal charm captivated everyone in Macondo. She was so pure and innocent that she seemed almost otherworldly, and her mysterious disappearance into the sky left the town stunned and searching for meaning. As time went on, Macondo itself became a place where the lines between reality and magic blurred. The rains that lasted for years, the visits from gypsies bearing fantastic inventions, and the appearances of ghosts all became part of everyday life. The town was both enchanted and cursed, held captive by the destiny of the Buendía family. Through it all, Ursula remained the steadfast anchor, the one who tried to hold the family together, even as madness and despair crept closer. Her life stretched across generations, and she watched helplessly as her children and grandchildren repeated mistakes, fell into obsession, or sought escape. The Buendía family story was one of repetition and fate, where love and solitude danced in an endless waltz, and the past seemed unable to release its grip on the future. In Macondo, the impossible was possible, and the extraordinary was simply the way of life. As the years unfurled like the turning pages of a magical book, the Buendía family grew more tangled in their own history. New generations arrived, each carrying the marks of the past, like shadows they couldn't escape. One such figure was Jose Arcadio Segundo, a man with a restless spirit and an eye for the strange and tragic. He became entangled in the fierce conflicts that swept through the land, witnessing horrors that no one in Macondo could have imagined. Yet even as the world outside turned chaotic, Macondo held its magical rhythm, suspended in time. Amaranta, with her unyielding pride and unresolved heartache, continued her solitary path, weaving a web of bitterness and longing. She became a symbol of the family's pain, a living memory of what was lost and what could never be recovered. Meanwhile, new lives blossomed amidst the old, including that of Aureliano Segundo, whose charm and zest for life brought brief light to the family's often gloomy tale. His twin brother, Jose Arcadio Segundo, carried a heavier burden, more aware of the town's unfolding tragedies and the family's deepening curse. Love and passion burned fiercely but fleetingly. Relationships sparked like fireworks, intense, bright, but often doomed. The Buendías fell in love, fought, and sometimes loved the wrong people, tangled in patterns they couldn't break. The curse of solitude seemed to settle deeper with each generation, like a mist creeping quietly over the town. Through it all, Macondo remained a character in its own right, full of mystery and magic. The town witnessed the arrival of the Banana Company, a symbol of outside forces changing everything. At first it brought promises of wealth and progress, but soon it revealed greed, cruelty, and tragedy. A massacre of workers marked one of the darkest chapters in Macondo's story, a moment when history's brutal reality shattered the town's enchanted veil. Amidst the tragedy, the Buendía family struggled to hold on to their memories and their stories. Some tried to forget, others tried to write it all down, hoping to break the cycle. But time in Macondo was like a circle, always returning to the same place, and the family's fate seemed tied to the mysterious prophecies written long ago. And so the story moved forward, weaving between magic and reality, hope and despair, always circling back to solitude, the one thing every Buendía would come to know deeply, whether by choice or by fate. As the years drifted on, the Buendía family continued to carry the weight of their ancestors' dreams and mistakes. Aureliano II lived with a passion for life, indulging in celebrations and pleasures, while his twin, José Arcadio II, bore the scars of sorrow and secrets too heavy to share. Their lives were intertwined with the changing fate of Macondo itself, a town caught between enchantment and harsh reality. The arrival of the Banana Company marked a turning point. Promises of prosperity brought crowds of workers, vibrant life, and new struggles. But beneath the surface lurked darkness, exploitation, violence, and tragedy. The massacre of the striking workers was a cruel scar on Macondo's history, a brutal moment where innocence was shattered, and the town's magical bubble finally burst. Yet the event was soon swallowed by silence and forgotten by many, as if the town itself tried to erase the pain. Amid the turmoil, the Buendías wrestled with their personal curses and desires. Love and obsession twisted their fates, and the lines between reality and fantasy blurred even more. Fernanda, a proud and rigid woman who married into the family, tried to impose order and tradition on the chaotic house, but her efforts often clashed with the wild spirit of Macondo. Meanwhile, the youngest generations grew up under the shadow of prophecy. They lived lives marked by solitude, haunted by memories and fears they barely understood. The repeated names José Arcadios and Aurelianos became a confusing cycle, a sign that history was trapped in an endless loop. As time passed, the town itself began to fade. The magic that once filled the air grew thinner. Macondo was slowly forgotten by the outside world, and even the family's own stories started to blur and disappear. But one man remained determined to break the cycle, Melquiades, the gypsy who had brought wonders and mysteries long ago. His ancient manuscripts held the secrets of the family's fate, waiting to be deciphered. The story wound down, weaving threads of love, loss, and memory, until the Buendías faced the truth written in those faded pages. It was a tale of solitude so deep, so inescapable, that it seemed to trap them forever. As the last generations of the Buendía family grew older, the weight of the past pressed down harder than ever. The children and grandchildren struggled to find their place in a world that seemed to be slipping away from them. A sense of inevitability filled the air, like a slow, unstoppable tide, drawing everything back to where it all began. Among them was Aureliano Babilonia, the youngest bearer of the family name. Raised by Fernanda, he was a quiet boy with a hunger for knowledge and a heart full of questions. he discovered the ancient manuscripts left by Malquadzi, filled with strange symbols and cryptic prophecies that seemed to tell the story of the Buendía family before they even lived it. Slowly he began to decipher the writings, uncovering secrets that had been hidden for generations. But with every revelation came a deepening sorrow. The manuscripts spoke of a curse, a pattern of solitude and tragedy that would repeat until the family line ended. It was a fate none of them could escape. Aureliano realized that the story of Macondo and his family was coming full circle, reaching its final chapter. Meanwhile, Macondo itself was falling into ruin. The streets grew empty, the houses crumbled, and the once vibrant town became a ghostly place lost in time. The magic and wonder that had defined it faded like mist in the morning sun, leaving behind only memories and whispers. In his last moments, Aureliano read the final lines of the prophecy, understanding that the entire history, the joys, the sorrows, the love, and the solitude, had been written to be forgotten. The Buendía family would vanish, and with them the story of Macondo. And just like that, the cycle ended. The town disappeared from the world as if it had never been. The lives and dreams of the Buendías became part of the endless mystery of time. In the quiet aftermath, as the last pages of Malquadis's manuscript were read, the secrets of the Buendía family finally came to light. The story revealed that the fate of the family and Macondo was always meant to be a cycle, one of love and loss, of dreams born and dreams fading away. Every joy, every sorrow, every whisper of magic was written in the stars long before the first Buendía planted the seeds of the town. Aureliano Babylonia understood that this final moment was both an end and a beginning, though in this case, the beginning was the eternal silence that follows the closing of a book. The past, present, and future all folded into one as the family line reached its last breath, and the mystery of Macondo was swallowed by time itself. The world outside would never know of the wonders and tragedies that had played out in that forgotten corner. Yet the story, like a whispered legend, would live on in the hearts of those who dare to dream, reminding us that solitude is a part of the human journey, sometimes a curse, sometimes a gift, and that the greatest magic is in the stories we tell to keep memory alive. And so, with the closing of the last page, the tale of the Buendía family and the town of Macondo drifted away like a fading dream, leaving behind only the echo of 100 years of solitude. Thank you for joining me on this magical journey through 100 years of solitude. If you enjoyed this calm and easy-to-understand retelling, please like, comment, and subscribe for more timeless stories brought to life. Until next time, keep dreaming and keep reading.